some new faces here. They've sold more records than Madonna. They've been on the road longer than Britney Spears has been alive. They're the legendary heavy metal band Metallica. They were at the point of breaking up when they made a decision to start group therapy. Meet Metallica.
Want a single? Camera over here.
85 million records, 22 years. I think it's 11 albums and various official releases. One word.
Oh my God. One word to span our career. From day one, it's been competitive. In a way, that's what has made Metallica what it is.
After 20 years, is it possible to retain the fire that, you guys once had at the beginning?
He felt like he wasn't free enough to do what he needed to do.
If you're not happy playing music,
Was there ever a moment you thought about stopping with Metallica?
Would you please welcome James Hetfield, Royce Ulrich, Kirk Hammett, and Robert Trujillo. I think that some people might regard us as a bit of an odd couple.
No way.
Yes, if you blend your demographic and my demographic, I wonder what you would come up with.
Married couples.
Metallica is full of surprises, including some inner demons, which they share with the world in a new documentary, already a cult film, Metallica, Some Kind of Monster. You guys are kind of going against the grain. Somebody said if you made a list of the 100 bands, you would be the last to do what you've done. One, you are guys who admit you need therapy. Two, you decide to do it in group. Three, with a film camera rolling every minute of the day, which actually was about 2 years. And then you release it as a motion picture. I love it, but I'm not sure I understand it. Who wants to go first?
I'd like to think that for 23 years we've been trying to do things that people don't necessarily understand or that people don't necessarily find easy to define. We've always prided ourselves on the fact that we've gone against the grain, and being in the world that we're in, there's a lot of cliches and a lot of perceptions, and we've always just been proud of the fact that we've tried to go against as many of those as possible, fight the cliches and not do the obvious. And in some way, I think this film is a continuation of that way of thinking.
Well, you haven't grown up trying to be good boys. So whether it was
Grown up.
Oh. All right, Kirk. Let's visit that idea for a moment. Because seriously, there was some growing up that had to be done, and it was a painful growing up period, I think. Would you speak to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, being in a rock band totally it gives you an opportunity to just stay at any age you choose to stay at, because all you're really required of is to just be able to go out there and play on stage and write music and record in the studio. And barely any other responsibilities really come into place. I mean,
Which is why everybody, wants to be a rock star.
Pretty
So
much.
what's the trouble?
yeah, pretty much. It's.
What was the trouble with that scenario?
Well, I mean, it just. It got to the point where we just weren't accountable for our own actions after a while. I mean, it's just, we were getting away with murder every single day, and after a while it caught up with us and started to eat at us from the inside.
Lars, how was it eating at you?
Well, I think the main thing, it was eating at the band collectively because we sort of didn't really communicate. We sort of forgot how to communicate with each other. We didn't really talk about how we were feeling. And I think the hardest thing for me was just that I felt that I lost touch with the other guys in the band, and that that the gang mentality that a band starts, like you're 18, 19 years old, and you do everything together, you live together, you're traveling together, you're playing, eating, everything. And then as you kind of grow older, you start kind of drifting apart. And obviously because you want to assert your own independence and your own individuality, but we kind of lost touch with each other, and we kind of all drifted. And that was what was eating away at me the most.
If I understand the story, management basically introduced the idea of a therapist because the life of the band was threatened. Metallica was nearly breaking up.
Well, there was this infamous Playboy interview that really, we were interviewed separately, and when you read it as one piece, it was very obvious that we hadn't talked to each other deeply in years. And there was a lot of walls built up, resentments from the past, and little stabs and this and that. And Jason, the bass player who was with us 14 years, he started to escape through, he would have his headset on all the time and just really kind of unplug. And I was no stranger to therapy, so I was pretty up for it. And as a group, I think we're all really into new challenges and trying something that it will at least keep the band healthy and prosperous and connected. Not to throw around too many gender stereotypes, but guys are not famously in touch with their feelings and anxious to talk about it in the way you have become very comfortable talking about it. I think especially in the beginning in the film, James, you look kind of icky about the process. Icky, wow.
Icky.
Let's talk about the zone for a minute. Okay, there is a way to help a person get in a zone. You could consider seriously doing some meditative or apply the meditative principles to music. All right. I don't want this to sound too way out, but if you do that, the four of you are out there, and you do it anyway, unconsciously. You do a musical meditation by starting to jam with each other. Sitting in the Ritz-Carlton with a therapist with a Bill Cosby sweater on, and going, what are we doing here? At first, it took a little while. And there was a lot that was hidden, and when you're kind of feeling uncomfortable, a camera is like this giant eyeball looking at you, making you feel even more uncomfortable. It
I've
magnifies.
got one looking at me right now.
It kind of magnifies your insecurities
But
at
that
times.
camera is ever present. We will talk about it when we come back, as we see what happens behind closed doors when there are no closed doors. Next.
When I'm gone, things get talked about, and then decisions are made, and I feel I walk into something that's already kind of decided, and it's a total uphill battle for me a lot of times. I don't like that feeling.
Oh, that's just like the last 15 years.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, let's talk about this tomorrow then. All right?
Right.
Or do you want to take time out?
No, I don't have time right now.
Okay. How about we just save up the tension? Seriously, it's okay because it's good. Tension produces results.
Tomorrow on the Jane Pauley Show.
We throw out to each other are complete bullshit. It sounds too stock. It sounds too normal to me. You know what I mean?
I think I
please
feel
write it down.
stock,
I
okay?
can't hear you.
So
No, when you say, you're telling me what to play right now. You're telling me you should play with what Kirk's doing, and I'm telling you it's stock.
Dude, fine. You know what, guys? Why don't we just go in there and just hammer it out, all right? Instead of hammering on each other.
Metallica, they are here with us. Kirk, you were the peacemaker.
Whatever you want to call it.
But who was in charge?
At what point? I mean, you know, just...
Well, when you do this, I think what you mean is these guys. There's one guy in charge. Well, here's another guy in charge. We have two guys in charge.
Well,
Am I right?
You know, I've always been stuck somewhere in the middle there in that gray zone. It seemed like I was the only one who would ever step up and try to, like, calm things down or separate them or bring things to some sort of, like, you know, medium, not necessarily a happy medium, but some sort of medium.
Just like we're sitting right now.
Yeah.
Are you okay now? I mean, I'll be honest, Kurt, I felt a little tension even as you were telling me that story, just a tiny bit.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but maybe compared to the past, that's no drama at all.
No, not at all.
Because in the old days, was it kind of intense between you and your leadership sharing?
Well, it never felt intense. Or I never realized how intense it was until I kind of stepped outside and looked at it from somebody else's point of view.
And how intense was it really?
I always looked at it, it was like we had some goals. We were making music, we were trying to do the best thing for Metallica, and it wasn't about so much about, you know, it was part of it. I just think you're so self-absorbed. And what makes it worse is that you always talk about me, you use the word control and manipulation a lot. I think you control on purpose, and I think you control inadvertently. I think you control by the rules you always set. I think you control by how you always judge people. I think you control by your absence. I think you control all of this even when you're not here.
James, that was the beginning of 2 years, about $1 million worth of therapy.
What?
Oh, you didn't know? So that was the beginning of the story. What was the middle story?
Oh, well, in the middle was me with my struggles. And, you know, when we started cracking that shell, once, you know, Jason had left and we turned our eyes inwards and tried to see what is our part in all of this. And once this shell started cracking open, we knew too much. We couldn't stop. We started delving into, you know, our personal backgrounds.
Childhoods.
Yeah, childhoods for sure. You know, your adult life is either spent running away from or figuring out your childhood, in my opinion.
Well, because you made the movie, and here we are on TV, but may I ask, what were your childhood issues?
Well, a lot of alienation. Growing up in a very strange religion that was very adult concept, Christian Science, with the mind over matter, God healing you, and not allowed to go to the doctors, not allowed to learn about health. In school, having to leave during health class. So I felt like an outcast from the beginning, and that, you know, it was hard to explain to my parents that I didn't understand this because they were so immersed in it. They, you know, equivalent of the minister in this church, and I felt very alienated from school, from my family, and spent the rest of my life looking for family.
Well, you had a band, well, but then that wasn't working for you.
It's interesting how much I was searching for family, but how much I really wanted to rebel against family as well. And I never really got to speak out my anger. And, you know, when you say guys being in touch with their feelings, I knew one feeling, anger and rage, and it would either be all the way on or all the way off, you know, very passive aggressive.
When you spoke earlier about finding another family, sometimes you have to leave a family to find it again.
Very true.
The story continues in a moment.
Let's do it, and let's do it full on, or let's not do it at all. See?
I told you, I'm in a mood, and what have you been doing? Picking at me all night.
Come on, guys. We got better things to do. All right?
Yeah, I do. I do.
And after that door slam, James wasn't seen for a long time.
Long time. It felt like forever. It was about 11 months. Saw him a couple times. Me and Kurt went down to visit him in rehab in kind of a family week and spent a nice week with him there and got to learn. I learned more about James that week that I probably had in the previous 20 years.
11 months, though, the first 4 or 5 months, they didn't know where you were. Where were you?
I didn't know where I was either. It was a great thing to completely let go of what control I felt I had in my life. And I have my wife to really thank for that. She's the one who stepped up and said, "You've got to get out of here." I was literally thrown out of the house. You're unhealthy for me and our children, and you have got to go get some help.
I'm out there looking for excitement, and all this stuff, the results are the same, man. I wake up the next day somewhere in some bed. I don't know who this person is next to me, and I'm drunk, completely hungover, and have a show to do, and the result is the same.
My behavior from the road, the drinking, the just complete unaccountability started to seep into home life, and especially with the kids around, was very unhealthy.
Metallica had a nickname, I don't know if it was deserved, but Alcoholica?
Well deserved.
It was well deserved. Why
We
you
worked
say
hard
that?
for that title.
Yeah. Okay, do you know, Rob, you are a fairly recent member of the Metallica family, and what was their reputation from where you were? And that was, I think you were with Ozzy Osbourne for a while.
Well, actually, back in '93 and '94, I was in a band called Suicidal Tendencies. We toured with Metallica for a couple years, and it was pretty wild back then. You know, it was fun, but you know, you can't really keep that going for so long. But I hadn't seen the guy since then, so it was wild, pretty wild for me to come up and actually audition with them and reunite with them when I got that call. I didn't know what to expect.
Whose phrase was the monster, and how many meanings are there?
Well, for me, I think when I went into rehab, I had to unplug. It was somewhat of an identity crisis, midlife crisis, all happening at the same time. And my worth was James, the singer of Metallica, or the dude in Metallica. I was blaming Metallica for swallowing me up, you know. So this was this beast that it pretty much swallows everything in its path, you know. And that was the machine, you know. But having to get in touch with the 4 humans that make up Metallica and what we mean as a combined group.
That's totally why you guys are here, because someone, why Jane Pauley? The idea, it knocked me out that you guys would be so smart to do what you did, so generous to share it the way you have. We're all surrounded by a group of fans, and they aren't necessarily, I'm sure they're Jane Pauley fans somewhere. Not. They're your guys' fans, and I'm thrilled that they are here, but I think some of them are a little, I see some brains that are just don't quite get it. It's kind of an out there decision.
It was completely natural when it happened, and having the cameras filming, I mean, what a gift. What an awesome gift. Not many people get to see their emotionally naked selves being real, going through horrible times, captured on film so you can see it and learn about yourself. It's an awesome mirror to learn about ourselves, and maybe these people know the big mighty Metallica that's portrayed out there. This is probably the other extreme of Metallica, the soft, broken, confused, don't know what we're doing Metallica, and then we reside somewhere in the middle in life now. So this is one other extreme that people are getting to see with this movie.
Yeah, you're still on the road. You're still Metallica. You weren't the band that was formerly Metallica.
And we've also, I think one other thing to add is we've always been survivors. And I think we've always, when we needed to in times of crisis or whatever, to kind of step it up and do what we needed to do to make it to the next, you know, chapter or whatever. And so I think that a lot of the peers, a lot of the bands that were our peers up through the years, they never wanted it, I think, hard enough, or they never did what they could have done to kind of stay with it. And we've always taken the extra steps. And so say, why did you do all this? Well, we needed to survive after 20 years. Okay, now we need to do this. We need to get to know each other again. We need to go through therapy. We need to maybe make this film, so like James is talking about, so we can see ourselves, so it can help us survive and continue and being the best Metallica that we can be.
Well, you got to admit, with your track record, you've got a work ethic, a pretty amazing one. And 3 out of 4 of you are family men. And we'll be talking about that when we come back, because when James returned from rehab, there were some new rules. Next.
Come on, little man, let's go.
Skylar, do you want your purse?
Daddy, come. Come, Daddy, come.
Practice the drums?
Yeah. Let me pin down. Daddy will play drums.
I played drums a lot today already. I'm okay to play for a while.
Wow.
I'm getting all misty-eyed.
He's precocious. He is precocious, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's, you got to remember, that's 3 years ago. He's in first grade now.
Is he still doing that?
Not as much as he should be.
Oh, you want him to practice and do you want him to be a drummer in a heavy metal band?
No, I don't want him to be a drummer, no. No, I don't want him to be a drummer. I want him to be
Do you want him to be in a heavy metal band is the intent of my question.
I want him to be whatever he wants to be. I sometimes feel that maybe he should have more of a knowledge of Daddy's instrument. I think he's maybe been on the drums about 3 times since then, and that's, 3 years ago. But when he gets up there, he kind of makes some noise and has fun with it. And the way I was brought up, it was in a very open, very open home.
You grew up in Denmark.
I grew up in Copenhagen, Denmark, yeah. Very open, very liberal. My dad was a professional tennis player, traveled all over the world, and he never wanted me to be a professional tennis player following his footsteps. It was just, he wanted me to be what I wanted to be, and I kind of look at the same for my 2 boys.
You could have been anything you wanted to be, and you became exactly what you wanted to be?
Well, actually, I knew that I wanted to be something different from what everybody else was doing. I thought for a while I was hoping to follow in my father's footsteps, and I actually played a lot of tennis when I was a kid. And the reason we came to America in 1980 was for me to kind of step it up tennis-wise after I finished school in Denmark. But in Denmark, I was ranked in the top 10 in my age group, and when I came to America, to LA, I wasn't even ranked in the top 10 on the block I lived on. And it was kind of discouraging or something, and I think that, music had always been there. Was like my passion. Tennis was kind of what almost was looking to be my job, but music was my passion. So when tennis went away, music just took over, and here we are.
I think that it's probably fair to say that family has become a shared passion. Kirk has indicated to me that he does not yet have children, but he's been practicing a lot, whatever that means. Rob is the new father, 9-month-old baby, but we have some scenes from the movie, Metallica, Parents.
Where does a record start? Where does it end? Where does the process start? Where does the process end? All that type of stuff, do you know what I mean? It's really interesting. Yes, sweetie?
Skylar, do you want your purse?
I'm working on really hard on being the best dad and father and husband I can be. And the best me.
You've spoken about your family before, James. How many children do you have?
3.
3.
Yeah.
When
2, 4, and 6.
When you came back from that extended absence of nearly a year, you brought some rules with you. What were the new rules?
Well, the rules were, let's get what we can get done during a good part of the day from, I think it was 11 to 4, because I had lots of therapy going on as well, and family, and wanting to be home for dinner with the kids, and lots of things that were necessary in my life to reconnect with family. So balancing the day out, you know, setting boundaries. That's a whole new thing for me, especially in a rock and roll world. You know, freedom through structure it makes zero sense, you know. But for me, it had to make sense because I needed to feel like a well-rounded person.
Rob, how far is that from the James Hetfield that you knew about back in the old days?
Well, the James Hetfield that I knew before, he actually, when I came up for my audition, I was wondering if I was going to encounter the James Hetfield that would sock me in the arm and say, "Here, have a shot of Jägermeister," and you know, the intimidating Hetfield, the whiskey warlord. That's what I like to say. But it was far from that. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, they opened their doors to me, made me feel real comfortable. And,
but you had to have been kind of mystified at your arrival after James had returned. But in the midst of all this therapy and the cameras and all of that, what did you think?
I mean, I was just pretty much excited about coming up. You know, I live in LA, so to drive up to San Francisco and jam with the guys. But about 20 minutes before I arrived at the headquarters to play, you know, I was informed that there would be a film crew there documenting this, and also that there was going to be a performance coach, you know.
Which is to say, the therapist.
Yeah, therapist. And then I was going, wait a minute, hold on, what's going on here? You know, let me rethink this. But you know, even with the film crew, everybody made me feel really comfortable right off the bat. So it was great.
A lot of changes had been made.
Yeah, sounds better.
So the filmmakers stuck with this story for 2 years. They had no idea if the band would stay together long enough, much less what the ending would be. And did they really want a happy ending? Because they certainly got one. We'll be back.
Right on. Well, we're here. And the camera's here. And my friend the Boom is here. Hovering. Yeah. You know, a Boom following me around, and it just felt like I was in the spotlight all the time. And I guess I don't really like that feeling.
You know, one answer may be maybe there shouldn't be a film. I mean, that's the range of possibilities that we should really think about, because I mean, why do you guys want to film?
I think it's a big question, because for me, it was really just, it came along with being in Metallica.
Also joining us are the directors of Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, Joe Berlinger, with a hard G?
Berlinger.
Berlinger, I'm glad I asked. And Bruce Sinofsky. I wish I'd asked a little earlier.
That's really soft, yes.
Yeah. Were you at all concerned about the fan reaction? And if you were, is the verdict in?
Yeah, you know, I mean, to me, this is a beautiful film that sort of turns the whole image of heavy metal on its head. It's about human growth and the creative process. And we were a little concerned, how would the fans respond to this? But we just had, you know, these guys have spoken to the disaffected youth in a very profound way over the years. And we just felt like this message, ultimately, Metallica fans would embrace, and they have, which is
How do you know? Have you done any focus groups?
Well, before we released the film, we had a screening for fans, and just generally we get a great reaction from people.
Has anybody here seen it? Yes. Yeah.
You know, there's a big risk, Jane, when guys like this who have an image. I mean, these guys are the icons of macho aggression, and all of a sudden, our first day of filming, we're in a heavy metal therapy session, so we were concerned about the fan reaction to this, because
That's not why you were called in.
You don't want to see your heroes naked, you know. Well, sometimes you do. Apparently they do. But, you know, it was a concern to us, but we showed it to 100 people, and they said, if Metallica can do this with their lives, we can do this with our lives, and they embraced the message. Yeah.
Now, when did you know you actually had a film? Because you were shooting and shooting and shooting, spending a lot of, I hope, other people's money, but you weren't sure you had a film. You weren't even sure you had a band that was going to stay together. But at what moment, what happened that you looked at each other and said, this is a film, this is a movie?
Well, you know, in what we do, there's an inverse relationship between the quality of the lives of the subjects and the quality of the film. And when James split and slammed the door, we looked at each other and we said, oh, too bad for these guys, but great for us, you know.
But didn't he have to come back?
What?
Yeah, well, we hope so.
He did have to come back.
Of course, he had to come back. And then at that point, when we saw how profoundly different James was and how he was really working on himself and how all these guys were working on themselves, we knew that there was a real opportunity to sort of turn the whole rock documentary genre on its head, because most rock documentaries put these guys on a pedestal, glorify sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and these guys have willingly taken themselves off the pedestal and allowed themselves to be seen as human beings, and also shows the kind of wreckage that results from living 20 years of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And we felt that that was a really important, honest message, you know.
And we didn't know, where it was going to go. We waited 11 months for him, which is a long time to wait for anybody. It's like waiting for Godot, waiting for James. And he didn't want the film to continue. We spoke to him on his cell phone after Lars says he doesn't want this to continue. And we said, we want to sit down and talk with you. Let us at least film us talking with you so we have an ending to the film if that's as far as it goes. And then we had this meeting, and then we showed him about 20 minutes of the footage. And I think he was so fearful that while he was away, it was 11 months of James trash talking, and the band was gaying up on him. But he saw a depth to the material and a window into his own soul in some way. And he pulled us aside. He says, I want this to go on. I want this project to go on. And I want you guys to go deeper. I want you to go as deep as you possibly can. And the beauty of these guys is, and all the time we were with them, 2.5 years, not just 2 years, they never once said, shut the camera off, you're not welcome in this room. We had complete access, which was, for us a bounty. We were so grateful for that as filmmakers.
And the reason I think this film has this utter authenticity in this age of reality TV where everything is so self-conscious and dissected and self-aware is that none of us knew what we were signing on for. I mean, we should say Phil Toll, the therapist, really was brought in for a couple of weeks originally to manage the Jason Newsted thing, and we were brought in by the record label really to just document a little B-roll of these guys, going into the studio. And we all just saw something special was happening, and we all just jumped on this train and rode with it.
So from breaking point to breakthrough, the band is whole again with the introduction of Rob. I want to do that. I don't know why. Just primal and primitive, and I want to do it. That was from Metallica's latest album, Saint Anger, which took something like 2 years to record, and with great difficulty, but it was very much worth it. Rob, when you joined the band, tell me, 3 years ago? You do the math. How long ago? It was still in the process.
2 years ago, maybe, just under. Yeah.
How much confidence did you have that the band had a future?
Well, I mean, I didn't really know exactly what was going on, the turmoil that existed, because when I came in, they were pretty well healed, I think. I think when I came into the picture, actually, things really came together and got solid. But we clicked right away. I mean, our performances clicked right away. We got along as, our personalities clicked, which was the most important thing.
Now, immediately, the band seemed very committed to making a gesture to Rob that says, you're in, you're one of us. He had a 25% share right from the start, and a signing bonus that athletes, like $1 million signing bonus, am I right?
Is that right?
Yeah, because that's what, when you said they came back.
It's a loan.
When you said well-heeled, I was already thinking of $1 million, and I'm thinking, well-heeled. Yes, they were very well-heeled.
Are you sure that's not pesos or lira?
Why were you guys that comfortable with your future that you could make that kind of an investment?
Well, he had to jump on a moving train. We took the time for the three of us to heal before we just got the next bass player and kind of went on, And we had done that before. We wanted to take time and heal, and like Rob was saying, we kind of knew who we wanted and who we deserved, and Rob was the gift that showed up at that time. We deserved Rob, and I think he deserves us.
Absolutely.
And
I do.
If I may say, I mean, these guys are the hardest working band on the planet, and we are, actually. And my first gig was San Quentin State Penitentiary, okay? My second gig was MTV Icon in front of millions of viewers, mind you, with no rehearsals, you know? So it was like the challenges were amazing for me. So I had to really focus and dig deep to step it up with these guys. And it's been working out great. We're having a good time.
Your life on the road is different than it used to be. Instead of strip bars in the cities you travel, are you making this up? You go to museums?
I went once, yeah. But they're car museums. So
Car
it's,
museums. Okay, well, because I was thinking you probably wouldn't be recognized a lot at your museums.
No, there's a lot more to be to see out there on the road than, you know, the tour of strip clubs, the tour of bars, whatever.
Now that you can see it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's there. It wasn't time for me then, and now it is, and so it's almost it's a rebirth on the road and getting to see who's out there, what culture there is, and all of that kind of grown-up stuff.
You guys looking for a middle-aged singer?
Sorry?
You looking for a middle-aged girl singer?
Yes, we are, by the way. And oh, we do have a jacket that hopefully fits you because you belong.
It fits. It fits. It fits. I can't put it on. I got my microphone on. But you know what? When we come back, for the first time anywhere, Jane Pauley live on stage with Metallica. Well, Kirk Hammett, obviously. Word about me. Is that hanging? Is that right?
We're doing.
Because at least I got to get the look right.
Yeah,
at least got to get.
have to.
Okay,
yeah.
tell me what we're doing here.
So what we're doing, well, is first I'm going to show you the heavy metal power chord, and you just, you keep your finger there, and you just hit the top two strings and make a face. Yeah, there you go. Excellent. And
but I need another move.
okay.
Give me one more move.
So, all right, you want to keep your finger at the same
It's not
place.
going anywhere.
Yeah, and this is the heavy metal chunk, and this plays a large part in a lot of our songs. And all it is just you just want to ride that note, yeah, and look real kind of tough and evil, and
I am
give
looking
it some
tough.
attitude. Yeah, there you go.
Agony or
Exactly.
I look unhappy in my work. That's wonderful. Am I well healed yet?
You're doing a great job.
Kirk, this is the highlight of my career. You and I are on my greatest hits reel for eternity.
All right.
This is it. But I have some announcements for the audience. Not this first. Before the show, we polled our audience, and we found a woman who says Metallica is her life. Shirley? Shirley, where's Shirley?
Here you go, Shirley. That's for you, all right? That's for you. Happy birthday. Congratulations. All right, okay.
You guys have made two women very happy today, and I just wanted to show you this. You can't have this one; it's all marked up because that's my copy. Joe Berlinger has a book about Metallica coming out in November. You'll be looking for that. And in the meantime, nobody in the audience is leaving today without a copy of Metallica's latest. So what? Thanks to all my guests.
you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Peter.
And while I say, check out our website,
Thank you.
JanePauleyShow.com. Thanks for watching. Oh, no, I really believe that. Thanks for watching, she said, and she's going to go. See you next time. Polly was